to the July 14th, 2026 regular meeting of the Salina Public Schools Board of Education. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On to item 3, approval of the agenda. I don't think there are any modifications needed this evening. Is a motion to approve? In a second. Thank you. Motion in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Now on to reorganization of the board for the 2026-2027 school year. First with election of the board president.
I'd like to nominate Grant and close nominations.
I second.
I need to read this, I believe,
Oh.
but thank you. Let me catch up here. I will accept nominations now. And you just nominate. I don't need a second yet.
You'll nominate Grant.
Okay.
Gabe Grant,
Thank you.
period.
Are there other nominations? Hearing none, I will now close the nominations for board president. Is there any discussion? Gabe Grant was nominated as board president. At this time, I will accept a motion to elect a nominee as president.
I
So
move it.
moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to elect Gabe Grant to serve as president until new officer elections are held at the first regular meeting in July 2027. That's what I heard in your motion. We're really doing well here, guys. Is there any further discussion?
I'll mention that I had asked Scott if he wants to be president, and he said he'd like to have another year to get prepared. And so I am happy to, that Gabe is willing to go another year.
Thank you. Anything else? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. All right, let's try to do this in order on this one, guys. Election of board vice president. I will accept nominations now.
Mr. President, I would like to nominate Scott Gardner as Vice President.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will close nominations for board vice president. Is there any discussion?
Do you need a motion?
I do. Scott Gardner was nominated for board vice president. At this time, I will accept a motion to elect a nominee as vice president.
I move that Scott Gardner be elected to serve as vice president until, shall I say, until new officer elections are held at the first regular meeting in July of 2027.
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. On to the consent agenda. It is lengthy this evening, as it's the start of our fiscal year. Consent agenda items this evening are appointment of the Board of Education clerk as Deborah Howard, appointment of the Board of Education deputy clerk as Shanna Rector, appointment of the Board of Education treasurer as Lisa Peters, annual resolutions to establish regular meetings, to waive the annual requirements for generally accepted accounting principles and fixed asset accounting, to rescind policy statements found in minutes, to adopt 1,116 school hours, and to establish home rule, to establish the 2026-2027 official depositories as Bank of Tesket, Bank of the Plains, Bennington State Bank, Capital Federal, Central National Bank, Equity Bank, Exchange Bank, First Bank Kansas, Solomon State Bank, Sunflower Bank, and UMB Bank, to establish the 2026-27 official newspaper as the Salina Journal. Annual appointments: First Deputy Superintendent Shanna Rector, school attendance officers as building principals, District Coordinator for ADA, bloodborne pathogens, Title VI EEOC, Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964, Scott Chrisman, Executive Director of HR. District Coordinator for Title IX Gender Equity is Jody Craddock Iceland, Director of Support Services. District Coordinator for Section 504, Scott Chrisman. Hearing Officer, Robert German, Attorney at Law. Custodian of District Records, Deborah Howard, Board Clerk. Custodian of Building Records, Building Principals. Custodian of Student Records, Scott Chrisman. Food Service Authorized Representative, Lane Norris, Director of Food Nutrition Services. Food Service Hearing Officer, Lisa Peters, Executive Director of Business. Food Service Determining Officials, Building Principals, and Lane Norris. Head Start Authorized Representative, Heath Hogan, Superintendent. Capers Designated Agents, Scott Chrisman and Steve Dorsweiler, Manager of HR. Current Authorized Representative, Lisa Peters. Custodian of Activity Funds, Gate Receipts, Secondary Principals. Title I Director, Shannon Rector. Freedom of Information Officer, Olivia Opat, Director of Communications. Homeless Coordinator, Jody Craddock Iceland. Asbestos Program Manager, Kevin Riddle, Grounds Maintenance. Transportation Supervisor, Paul Menching, Executive Director of Operations. Approval of the minutes of the June 9th, 2026 regular meeting. The personnel reports, the financial report, which tonight includes the end-of-year bills for June 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2026. The May Treasurer's Report, the May Investment Report, and journal entries for May and June 2026. Approval of the June 30th, 2026 unencumbered cash balances. Approval of the following encumbrance listings. First to Akita Box for the annual software renewal of the maintenance management system in the amount of $41,743.41. To BCS for projected technical support for HVAC controls during the 2026-2027 school year in the amount of $100,000. To Cruise Corporation for projected HVAC chiller and boiler repairs during the 2026-2027 school year in the amount of $50,000. To Citywide Facility Solutions in the amount of $250,000 for cleaning services to augment our custodial operations for the 26-27 school year. To Four States Maintenance Supply in the amount of $200,000 for cleaning supplies for the 26-27 school year. To Village Travel for projected expenditures for charter bus services during the 26-27 school year in the amount of $250,000. To Citywide Facility Solutions in the amount of $320,088.41 for stucco and window repair at Stewart and South High. To RF Fencing in the amount of $36,635 for emergency repairs to fencing at Central High Tennis Courts. To Ray Roofing for roof repair at Heartland in the amount of $235,106.62, and a roof replacement at Lakewood in the amount of $385,781. And to Cisco Food Services in the amount of $177,000, and to Highland Dairy Foods in the amount of $35,000 for food purchases for Heartland Early Education for the 26-27 school year. Approve exceeding the revenue neutral rate, authorizing administration to prepare R&R calculations, and if applicable, notify the county clerk by July 20th, 2026 that USD 305 will exceed the revenue neutral rate for the applicable levying funds. Approve the 2026-2027 mileage allowance and establish it at the federal mileage reimbursement rate. As of July 1st, 2026, the federal mileage reimbursement rate is 72.5 cents per mile. Approve the 26-27 petty cash funds for Heartland Early Education and District Office in the amount of $1,500 per fund. Approve the 26-27 facility use fees, and approve the 26-27 board representative appointments as noted in the board packet. Motion to approve. Scott seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. On to public forum, and we had no requests to speak this evening. So on to our action agenda, and first item 7A, 26-27 handbook for retired certified teachers with Scott Chrisman.
Okay, so you have in front of you the recommended changes for the Retired Educators Handbook. There is nothing different here than what you had approved last month in the negotiated agreement. Once you have made those changes to the negotiated agreement, we need to update our Retired Educators Handbook to mirror those changes.
Questions, comments? Motion to approve? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, I move that, oh, is somebody already talking? I move that we approve the changes to the 2026-2027 Retired Certified Teachers Handbook as presented.
Taking a second. Dana seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, sir. And now on to 7B. 2026-2027 handbooks for elementary, middle, high school, and Salina Virtual Innovation Academy with Dr. Shannon Rector.
I went faster than I thought. Well, good evening. So I wanted to bring the elementary handbook first. And so just to go over the pieces of the handbook. And so in your packet, you have the information about changes to the visitor section. And that visitor section is just really to kind of simplify and to guide the individual parents to the principal first, since there's variations on how each building might have availability for different visitations, like at lunch or at recess or during the classroom. Then on the transportation, that was a main focus on trying to simplify the language in the sense that there are many reasons why students may be eligible for busing. And so really the driver of that is actually Durham, and they have a series of questions that they go through. And so we really were just trying to let parents know that it is determined at enrollment and through contact with the busing and then also the school principal. On student arrivals, what we see there is that we had basically the doors opened exactly at the time that we were wanting students to arrive, and so we really wanted to push that back about 5 minutes. And so that is for the main doors to the building, and so there may be an entrance for breakfast that the students go to, but this would be for the main doors to let all students in, and that is at 8:15. Then we have information about chronic absenteeism. And with the chronic absenteeism, this is just really an update to the percentages as we're looking at the information. And so basically, each week we look at chronic absenteeism data, information goes to the building principals, and they're trying to look at that data in a timely manner so that way they can start to see when we start to see changes in student attendance, and so that way we can act more quickly. And so we have reduced the numbers there, and that actually got put into place last year, and so this is an update to make sure that we have a policy aligned with procedure. Then we have the student behavior and discipline, and really I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next section, but really in this part it's just an update to the definitions of the personal electronic device to match some guidance that we'll have later on in the document. Then we have inclement weather. And when we look at that inclement weather, we actually do serve breakfast. When we have the 2-hour delay, the breakfast is already in the buildings, and so we do serve that. And so that is an update to that wording there for common practice. Then on the ELL, that really is the ESOL services. That's really to kind of align or mirror language to what you would see within our state organization. Birthday parties, there was lots of information and kind of guidelines, and so simplifying that to just identify that materials that are brought for that have to have the nutrition facts and ingredient list, and so that's a simplification of the wording for parents to make it easier for them. And then we have the cell phone language that has been updated, and that cell phone language has been updated, and as you can see in your packet as a result of HB 2299, and so personal electronic communication devices are not allowed in schools. And so this is an update of our language to be able to comply with that guidance and to also provide some clarity to families. And so when you look at this guidance here, really, that all the devices described should be left at home. And so that is the main emphasis. And then it gives you the outline for what will happen, that if they are collected, or if they are at the classroom and they are collected, that it is the responsibility of it is not the responsibility of the district, it really is the student and the parent, because those devices should be left at home. And then if they are brought to school, you see that there are some expectations, and so there's kind of the sequence of consequences, so they'll be confiscated, held in the office, allowing that student to be able to pick up. And then as the second infraction occurs, they will then require the parent and guardian. And then you can see at the last statement is that there are exceptions to the policy, and those are going to be for accommodations for medically or educationally necessary purposes. And so that's just kind of what we're doing here, is making sure that we're following that House bill. And so that is the conclusion of the elementary handbook updates. Are there any questions?
I have a question. On the English as a second language category, you had said ELL, which is English language learners, and what it says in here, well, is ESOL, which is English for speakers of other languages. And it seems like either of those would be more accurate than English as a second language, because for some of these kids, it's their third language. But I'm not going to make a big deal of it, but it seems like some in the future, we could call it either ELL or ESOL instead of the second language wording. That's all.
Okay. And so, and really we're trying to mimic what the buildings are going to see on documentation coming from the state. Any other questions? Okay. And so this is an action item.
There's a motion in your packet to approve as presented.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the 2026-2027 elementary school handbook as presented.
Thank you. In a second.
I second.
Seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Okay.
On to middle school.
Yes. So with the middle school handbook changes, as you look at those changes in your packet, you'll see that there are some things that are unique to the middle school, and then there's also some repeat items to align those handbooks. That is something that we've been working very hard on over the last few years to make sure we can align our handbooks as closely across all grade levels. And so the first thing that you see here is the daily procedures, and really that is just a removal of language that is no longer applicable. Then we would look at the chronic absenteeism information, and that chronic absenteeism information is the same that we saw in the elementary. We have the same guidance across all of our schools. Then you'll see the information on tardies, and so we have updated the tardy description to mimic what we see in the high schools, and so that's giving consistency from the middle school to the high school. You'll see a repeat of some updates on the cell phone. And so again, we are matching that language to what we have in House Bill 2299. And then the same consequences that you would have seen in the elementary handbook. For lunch, we did add the recommendation to say that there's no candy, energy drinks, or soft drinks are allowed. So that's just to kind of add another level and kind of what is kind of the common practice that we're seeing in the lunchrooms. With the library policies, that information was updated to basically kind of get rid of some of the language that we had before on checking in and checking out. And so really trying to streamline that and making that a little simpler at each of those buildings. And then you'll see that we have book checkout is really utilizing that school ID card. And then the next one that you'll see is grade cards, and this is to update in the sense that we are providing those grade cards electronically in Skyward, and so putting that language into the handbook. And then on the disciplinary infractions, why this is different from the elementary is that in the middle school and high school, we actually had a more defined kind of matrix for our discipline consequences. And so this is matching the language of the description of the personal electronic device violation. And then you see that highlighted section in teacher action. That's to show that really we don't have the latitude of having teacher action for that House Bill 2299, because really the action starts with that consequence of it going to the office. And so that was just an update in that section. And so it would be recommended that you approve the 26-27 middle school student handbook as presented if there's not any questions.
Questions, comments, motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the 2026-27 middle school student handbook as presented.
Thank you. In a second. In seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. And on to high school.
High school. And so we see again the update to the language for chronic absenteeism. We have the repeated language that you saw for the personal electronic devices in the middle school, so it has been updated. Then you'll see that there are changes here to the graduation requirements, and what has been removed there is some, before we had guidance from the state that electives, they needed to align with the student's IPS. That requirement has been removed, so we wanted to identify that. And then also you'll see in the same section is some terminology that's been changed, that's been updated. And so really that's trying to change where we used to have something called correspondence classes. That's really no longer something that, a term that is used. And so we identified those as non-approved USD 305 courses. And that's really to kind of provide guidance in that as students are taking courses, we offer a full range of courses at our campuses and then also with our partnerships with post-secondary educational institutions. And we go through a whole series of mechanisms to make sure that we have the courses offered and that they align with really our expectations of a course. And so when students or families look at courses outside of that realm, they really would have to have permission and going through the principle for that. So we just wanted to update the language, but the premise of that process is the same. Then you'll see in that we changed some times to the detention room, and that again was just to kind of update to align with actually the timing that actually takes place, that detention time. And then you'll see again the discipline infraction chart. We mimic the language that you saw in the middle school. And so are there any questions?
I have a question. Can you give us an example of a non-approved USD 305 course?
So let's say they are trying to find a course that's online that is something that hasn't been approved, that's not aligned to kind of their IPS, their individual plan of study, or it's not an accredited university, or we offer that class in our schools already or with one of our post-secondary partners. And so for them to say, well, I want to take, I'll give a foreign language sometimes is a class that someone may ask about. And so we would make sure that it was something that we could look at within our guidelines to see if it would be accepted and if it was from an accepted institution. There may be times where they want to take an English course at a community college online that's not affiliated with our area. And so we have no ability to say that they have met the academic guidelines that we would want to see in that course.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. President, I move we approve the 2026-2027 high school student handbook as presented.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. And last on the list, Salina Virtual Innovation Academy.
So the two changes that we have to this handbook really are the ones that you've seen before, again, in the chronic absenteeism, to align that language, and then also to remove that statement of the electives aligning with the student's IPS. So these are changes that we saw in the high school handbook as well. Any questions?
Motion.
Were you going to say something? Okay. Mr. President, I move that we approve the 2026-2027 Salina Virtual Innovation Academy Student Handbook as presented.
Thank you. In a second. All seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you
so much. Next on our action agenda, item 7C, social media proof sites with Olivia Opat.
Good evening. I'd like to provide information about communication platforms. Our district has used School Messenger, also known as Skylar, as our primary communication platform for many years. This tool is used to communicate with our students, families, and staff through district notifications, school cancellations, emergency messaging, and other important communications. Since the original implementation of School Messenger in our district, it has been purchased by PowerSchool. Unfortunately, this makes School Messenger and Skyward direct competitors, meaning that the two software platforms no longer work seamlessly together. They no longer integrate or have an API connection, an application programming interface connection, which acts as a bridge and allows the systems to communicate and exchange data. This, and alongside the implementation of House Bill 2299 that took effect on July 1st, 2026, prompted the district to evaluate our communication platforms. House Bill 2299, which is commonly referred to as the cell phone bill, regulates how messages between students and district employees take place, that all district official digital communication must occur through monitored, board-approved district platforms, that platforms are owned, licensed, or contractually controlled by the school district, that all user accounts are created and continually managed by the school district, that district administration has access, oversight, and the ability to review an archive of all messages that are sent, and that parents and guardians have access to the platform. With all of this in mind, the district wanted and needed to evaluate our systems to ensure that we are in compliance with HB 2299, but also are using a communication platform that works seamlessly with our existing software and best meets the needs of our students, staff, and families. After researching several options, utilizing professional development groups in the communications field, talking with other districts throughout Kansas, and surveying district administration about the usage and the number of platforms that are currently being used for communication in our district, we ultimately selected Parent Square as the best solution. Parent Square is a leading K-12 communication platform that integrates directly with Skyward and is Skyward's only preferred communication partner. This is important as our district uses Skyward for staff, students, and business applications. If approved, Parent Square would become our primary district communication platform. Since it's an all-in-one K-12 communication platform, it would bring together our district, school, and classroom communications into one system. It features multiple ways for our families to receive information and would reduce the various number of platforms and applications that families receive district communication from. This will greatly benefit our families and allow us to best serve them and their needs. Some additional important information about Parent Square is that it is a 3-year contract. The first year cost is $28,301.05. This first year includes a one-time onboarding fee of $1,000. The second year cost is $28,649.25, and the third year cost is $30,334.50. This cost over the 3 years is based on Parent Square's annual per-student pricing model. The pricing also includes all of the onboarding, custom training resources for our staff and for our parents, which includes self-paced training modules, articles, videos, and live support resources such as email, chat, phone, Zoom training, and more. At this time, we're also requesting to use the platforms Bound and Huddle as communication platforms. And that's really all I have for you at this time, but I'd be happy to best answer any questions.
Questions or comments?
I was curious, I know what we had before, I never found a way that the board members could be on it, and I was always interested to know what people were getting. So I wondered if that's possible on this.
Yes, we will have the option to set up different groups, so that could definitely be set up in the new one, if it is approved.
Thanks.
Anything else? So on our action agenda, there's a motion to approve in your packet, if someone would want to make that.
I move that we approve the purchase of Parent Square as presented, along with the social media platforms of Parent Square, School Messenger, Bound, and Huddle.
Send a second.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Opat. Last on our action agenda, item 7D, Cardiac Emergency Response Plan. Superintendent Hogan.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. The Cardiac Emergency Response Plan, there is no changes to that plan currently. However, we'll bring this back every single year, whether there's changes or not, just for board approval. And then we resubmit that to the state that we've taken action through the board in order to continue with those practices.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the USD 305 Cardiac Emergency Response Plan with no recommended changes as presented.
Thank you. Second and seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. On to school board reports and upcoming dates of importance. First day of school is right around the corner, and that means first Thursday, August 6th, district-wide staff meeting at Central High at 8 a.m. in the morning. First day of school, Wednesday, August 12th, and already looking to November 6th through 8th, KASB Annual Conference in Wichita. Paul, start with you on board report.
Good evening. I had the pleasure of attending the Salina Adult Education Center graduation ceremony at Salina South High Auditorium. It was, as always, heartwarming to celebrate these people's triumph with them as they graduate through their adversities and challenges. Sorry. Thank you.
I also attended the Adult Education Center graduation. I attended the Smoky Hill Education Service Center Executive Cabinet meeting on the 11th of June, and we heard about the districts in that group that are on the board. The Plainville District is doing a theater-based summer school for elementary and middle school, which sounded a lot like our Theater Salina activities during the summer. And Dr. Lydia Gerzel-Short, one of the staff members, is leading a book study on a book entitled Reading Isn't Optional, about the specialized skill of teaching reading to secondary students. That sounded interesting. That's all.
I also had the opportunity to attend the Salina Adult Education Center's graduation, and it was very, very nice. Kelly Mowbray and her team do a great job out there.
I also attended the festivities as well. So it was really good.
I attended our meeting.
I too attended the Salina Adult Education after trying for all the years I've been on the board to go. It was really awesome. I also accidentally stole Kelly Mowbray's phone and about gave her a heart attack. So I'm sure she was thrilled I was there.
I attended a CKCIE Board of Control meeting, and I don't think any big updates other than the same sort of things we've been going through there. State funding shortfalls in special education continue to lead to decision-making that is made purely from budgetary reasons, not because of putting our students and staff in the best position to succeed. So that continues to go on. We have 4 new superintendents in our 12-district co-op joining us on Friday for our first meeting of the new fiscal year. So it'd be nice to meet them and welcome them to the area. On to superintendent's report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I was able, 18th of June, to attend a community partnership luncheon at Kansas Wesleyan University. Great opportunity to explore new chances for us to partner with KW. I'll talk later. I've got to extend that invitation a little bit with Dr. Thompson. Also on the 18th, Ann and I both got to attend Dr. Watson's retirement reception in McPherson. Dr. Watson has been great for education in the state of Kansas, and sad to see him leave, certainly, but excited for our new commissioner, Jake Steele, and what opportunities he'll bring for us. Also attended the SAEC graduation ceremony at South High. New location, we had a few hiccups certainly, but a great venue, and again, just such a rewarding opportunity to hear stories and what people are doing to go back and further their education, which is obviously dear to my heart. June 20th, worked with Dunbar Reunion Banquet, and I want to thank Ann again for representing us as a board collectively and the work that has been done with that reunion. Remarkable stories that come out of that situation and the lineage through Dunbar School. June 23rd, attended a budget workshop with Lisa Peters in Abilene, listened to new updates and potential impacts on our budgetary processes. July 1st, met with Dr. Thompson again about extending some opportunities for us 305 specifically and seeing how we can do more with the resources that KW has. July 7th, meeting in Topeka. I've updated the board on this, but working with our other Salina public entities, the SPEs, with the Schilling Air Force Base and communication that we have with KDHE. Productive meeting from the standpoint of just kind of getting us an opportunity to lay out all of our concerns, questions. We had the secretary there in the room with us, which was powerful. Representative Howe came as well to hear some of those concerns, and we had the Deputy Chief of Staff from the Governor's Office also. Let's see, July 8th, I met with the other state board candidate, Mrs. Lana McWilliams from Abilene. Spent a couple hours with her and updating her on some of our challenges that we have specifically here in 305. And then tomorrow and Thursday, we have our admin, we'll call it meeting. It's listed here as retreat, but there's no retreat about it. We're having a meeting. So looking forward to having everybody back in the room and getting people fired up for our new school year. I have kind of a public address announcement just to remind all of our patrons about enrollment. So enrollment's happening for all of our students, new and returning. Online enrollment is open and available until June 27th. Families can log into Skyward for online enrollment, visit the district website for more information, or if they prefer to do it in person, we have a walk-in enrollment scheduled for Tuesday, the 21st, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., which is going to be held at a new location this year. We're moving it to South High School. Normally that's been held at Central. We have quite a bit of work, summer work going on at Central, and it would be a little disruptive, so we moved it to South High, which I think is going to be a good setting for that. So if you have more questions, you can certainly reach out to anybody in our communications department or your local schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On to the next item of our agenda, item 10A, we do have an executive session for personnel. There's a motion in your packet for that for 15 minutes.
We're gonna need a break.
I'm good. Everybody good? 6:09.
I move that the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:09 for 15 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel and their contractual obligations. Because of this matter we discussed in open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed. And the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 6:24 in the SEC room.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. We are recessed into executive session. We'll be back in open session in this room at 6:24. We're back in open session and do need additional time.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:27 for 10 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel and their contractual obligations. Because if this matter were discussed in an open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed, and that the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 6:37 in the SEC room.
All the seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. We'll be back in open session in this room at 6:37. in open session and do need more time.
Mr. President, I move we go into, that the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:40 for 10 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel and their contractual obligations, because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed, and that the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 6:50 in the SEC room.
Second. Paul seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0. We'll be back in open session in this room at 6:40. Or sorry, 6. open session and do have action to take. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we accept the retirement of Susan Hall as of July 14th, 2026, and waive the liquidated damages for the amount of $5,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Any other motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the extension and the amendments to the employment contract with Superintendent Hogan as presented.
Thinking a second.
A second.
Amy seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. That brings us to the end of our agenda tonight. Thanks for joining us. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
A second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. We're adjourned. Thank you.